Hello, fellow Star Wars fans. It is Star Raptor here to talk about with my buddy Milton and soon to be Ben, talking about the season finale for season 2 of The Mandalorian, titled The Rescue. This was a pivotal moment in Din Djarin's career as a bounty hunter, as we
Yes,
see him
sir.
come face to face with none other than famed Jedi. By the way, spoilers for this episode. Spoiler alert. Luke Skywalker enters the fray to gather Grogu and complete his training as an upcoming Jedi. So there you have it. Something that a lot of people were hoping, like myself, to happen, and that actually came true. So turn it over to Milton, man. First reactions on this episode.
Mother effing loved it. And look, Chris, I'm gonna try to be real clean today because I know you got a family friendly channel. Okay. But this episode was fucking awesome. Okay. Like the last 10 minutes. And like I said, we'll talk Luke spoilers, okay? Because Luke is the reason why we're here. All right. Luke is the reason why we love Star Wars. Okay. That's the reason why we're all giddy, we're all emotional, we're all fans, and we all geeked out like little fanboys and girls when Luke pulled out that saber and was wrecking mother effers, okay? All right, so here's the thing. Whoever's watching this, I'm going to go negative for a second. This is what we've been wanting from day one when Disney bought Star Wars Lucasfilm, okay? This is what we wanted. Don't tell me that Rey is the most powerful Jedi out there when we see Luke Skywalker walking in and wrecking these Death Troopers like it's nothing. That's what we wanted. Kathleen Kennedy, you should have listened to the fans. You clearly had no plan with the sequel trilogy. And I know there's people out there that love the sequel trilogy, and that's fine. I don't prefer it. Sometimes in my head I think it's not canon, but I know it's canon right now, okay? It is what it is. But this is what we wanted. Okay, Chris, the last 3 days since that episode came out, I've been going on YouTube and watching mainly that clip of Luke just wrecking people. But then also I'm watching YouTube reviewers and reactors and people out there who just love Star Wars. Disney, this is what we wanted because if you go out and watch those reactions, you're seeing grown men and women ages from 50, 40, 30, some in their 20s, crying when they see Luke Skywalker
Mm-hmm.
reveal. They see Luke Skywalker. I'm hearing people saying, "Oh my God, it's a Luke, it's a Luke, it's a Luke. Wait, the glove, the green saber. Oh my God!"
Yeah.
And he pulls a reveal, and then people are bawling their eyes out. Okay, this is what we wanted the whole time. Hell, I got the same saber he's about to pull out right now in my other room. Yes, and I'm sorry to be negative, and I'm doing this only because Disney. This is what we've wanted. I'm gonna keep saying that because you clearly didn't listen to the fandom. You clearly didn't have a plan for the sequel trilogy. You have two gentlemen, Filoni and Favreau, who know the fandom, who's heard what the fans want. And let's be real here, they're giving us things that we didn't know that we even wanted. We didn't know anything about the child. We knew nothing about the Mandalorian character. We knew of the Mandalorian culture somewhat, but to give us this, and people, because I've heard people say at the beginning, prior to airing of season one, do we really need a Mandalorian
Oh,
show?
I hate when
What
people say that crap.
but it's like, you know what? Everyone's singing the praises right now and saying, "Oh, this is the best thing Star Wars has done in the last 10 years."
Mm-hmm.
You know, Disney's done. I'll say, it's like, come on, man. And this is where I'm going to give Disney their props now, and I'm gonna give Kathleen her props. She's letting these men and women, I'm talking about Deborah Chow, Bryce Dallas Howard, Filoni, Favreau, Peyton Reed, gotta give him credit for directing
Oh
this
yeah,
this
give him
episode.
credit.
Robert Rodriguez. She's letting these directors and writers give us Star Wars that we've always wanted. I respect J.J. Abrams as a filmmaker. I respect Ryan Johnson as a filmmaker. Personally, I don't think they're great. I don't think J.J. Abrams is a great storyteller. We all know Ryan can tell a story, but it has to be original content. Clearly, we didn't get what we wanted in the sequel trilogy, and I feel like this is the Star Wars that is bringing everyone together again.
Mm-hmm.
They brought a character that we all universally love. We all love Luke. And
Mm-hmm.
what's even crazy is like Luke got his justice in this episode. And again, we'll get into the Luke stuff. Trust me, he got his due. You know who else got their due? R2D2.
Oh yeah.
Getting that little shot of R2, and we're like, oh my god, that's the R2D2 we love. Because in the sequel trilogy, all he did was wake up, show some shit, and went back to sleep twice.
Yeah, really.
Like that's all he did.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, are you serious? But then we got the giddy R2D2, the enthusiastic R2D2. We got the optimistic Luke. We got the
Mm-hmm.
hero Luke. We got the Luke that's hopeful, who's all about rebuilding the Jedi Order. He's taking what Yoda has said, pass on what you have learned. We all remember that. And honestly, I think this episode with one sentence took a shot at the previous Disney Star Wars. When I say Disney Star Wars, the sequel films, when he said talent. What was the line? He says, with great talent, with something like, what was
With
that
the
line he says
Force.
about
Yeah, I
talent?
don't know exactly, but it had to do with the
Pretty
Force,
much,
and
he
it was
said,
all like,
you
you
got
can't be
talent
a.
with no training,
Yeah.
it ain't worth the damn. Pretty much, they're saying, look at Lucasfilm Disney. You had all these talented people, but you didn't have a plan. You didn't
Mm-hmm.
have anything you didn't put nothing together, and you can have all this talent, but if you don't got structure and order, you will have nothing. And I loved how they made this episode consistent with the whole season. And it was all about story driven. They
Mm.
drove the story. They drove the emotions. I don't think we got that in the sequel trilogy. We may have got some bits and pieces of it, but universally, there's no one can tell me that we feel emotionally tied to that trilogy. Not like we were with the originals. Not like we were with the prequels. That's a little mini rant that I have.
Oh yeah, there is a lot that needs to be said there, and you're feeling a lot of what, like you said, the general public. I am seeing the posts all over Facebook. I am talking to the everyday casual fan that grew up with the
Mm,
original trilogy. For instance, I work today at my job, and coworker, guy in his 50s, early 50s, grew up with the original trilogy, literally like was going crazy because it's like, this is what Star Wars is. He's like, I don't think
mhm.
any other stuff is canon, and this is what we wanted. This is
Yeah,
what, and he came up with a good point. Like, yeah, I mean, I respect the sequels and everything that exists in them, but I still think that the Mandalorian, and I'll say it here, and I'll probably say it several times on our season review we're gonna do next week as well, is this is the best live action Star Wars we've gotten since 1983's Return of the Jedi. The whole series of The
facts,
Mandalorian
facts.
is just at a different scale than what we've gotten for the other Star Wars stories, as far as what it feels like more of a direct continuation of
Right.
Return of the Jedi. Which, and the same coworker I was speaking to said, I wish that they could have came out with this first. Like, imagine a different parallel universe where they made this was the big leap. Instead of going to the movies, they
Hmm.
went to the Mandalorian first as the first official live action piece of Star Wars, and they built everything forward off of that. Now they're filling in the gaps, and you're seeing how that is going. It's so for some cases, but Mandalorian is definitely showing that there could be something worth leaning towards with that kind of statement.
Yeah, I agree. And I was actually listening to Rebel Force Radio this
Oh
past weekend
yeah,
because they were doing their spoiler talk, and I'm about halfway through that podcast right now, and they talked about that, and like they had the one guy on there who's worked with Disney, or he's worked with like Warner Brothers and all
is that
that.
Paul
I think
Bateman?
Paul Bateman, yes,
Yeah.
Paul's always on it, and Paul's like he hates the sequels. He makes it very clear. He's like, hate the sequels. They're not canon to me. He's like, but he's like, what they're doing with Mandalorian, they are pretty much like. He's like, what when he said pretty much today. He's like, what they need to do is do a Thanos snap, and just like say, you know what, the sequel trilogy that we made was pretty much an alternative universe of what could have happened. Because now Star Wars, Lucasfilm, Disney, I think has a good understanding of what the fandom wants and what they need. And yes, I'm all about taking risks and showing things that are new. Because we want that. We want them to reinvent it sometimes, but we want it to be consistent as well. And with all the things that they talked about at the investors meeting, all the projects that are being released are
Mm-hmm.
things that are very much new but very much
Yes.
similar.
Yes.
And it's like, wow, we want that. Oh, the acolyte. We
Mm-hmm.
want that, even though that's something that somewhat we have an idea maybe it's going to touch on some dark side stuff, but that's still new to us. Ahsoka, we're very familiar with that character. We're going to go into a lot of new things about her. Rangers of the New Republic. We can't wait for that because we want to see
Uh-huh.
what's that world is more built out in when it comes to the New Republic. Like I think this is an opportunity for them to introduce a Luke Skywalker series. That's just me personally. I have no problem with them bringing in the actor that they've used, or even Sebastian Stan, and I'm sure we'll get into this. But I think they wanted to see how this would go, and I think they're saying, wait, the fans would probably really respond well, and we did. And I think they're going to want us to give us more of that Luke that we've always wanted to know about. What was
Mm-hmm.
Luke doing between those 30 years?
Mm-hmm.
Prime Luke. This is prime Luke we just
Oh
saw
yeah,
last Friday.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a
So,
doubt.
Chris, I know this is your show. Take it away. Let's lead it. Let's get this. Let's get through this. I'm sorry. I just had to say stuff because I had to get it out of my system. This is what we've wanted and this is what we've needed. Me personally, I felt like it was 1998 again. Me watching the original
Oh.
trilogy, Gold Special Edition,
Oh
Gold
yeah,
and
I
Black
got that
Box,
right over there. I
and
got
it
them
was
over
like,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was like, my God, Return of the Jedi Luke, like, what, EU Luke? That's what
Yeah.
we were wanting to see, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah. Well, I mean that, like I keep saying, like that's something that it's good to get off your chest because a lot of people have the same feelings and you don't want to
mhm,
hold it up. This is your sounding board. It's all of our sounding boards. It's why we do this. We like to talk about Star Wars and we like to see what other people have to chime in on these conversations, on these statements. And it shows you how much this episode has hit us.
oh my gosh,
If we're talking about people crying, people say they haven't felt
grown,
this feeling since 1983, you know, or
yep,
1998, whatever you watch them, you know, if you're like us and born in the 90s, whatever. It's like, wow, man, this is literally powerful Star Wars. And to see that Star Wars is still that thing 40 years
absolutely,
later, 43 years later, how it's still able to captivate audiences, how it's still able to really tie things together, and we cherish these characters. I mean, like you said, Luke Skywalker is my freaking favorite character. I cosplay the same costume that Luke
which
wore
is
in
an
this
awesome.
episode.
That's an awesome cosplay you do every year, by the way.
Thanks,
It's a great
man.
outfit.
I gotta pick up a damn cloak now because I love that whole look with the big hood. I need to get one of those now, and hopefully I could go to a Comic-Con safely in the next year or so to do that again.
Right.
Cause man, oh
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Oh, Chris, look, man. That's the Luke. That's the Luke we wanted. That's the Luke we need. I'm sorry, like I just can't believe Luke Skywalker. And I've said this from day one. And all my friends, my friend Chris used to always give me crap about this because he's always like, "Well, Milton, you know, the old Star Wars fan like you. He's like, you just got to be able like to accept differences." I'm like, wait a minute, I can accept anything that's new as long as it makes sense for the story.
Uh-huh.
And you're telling me Luke Skywalker 30 years later is a coward and a pessimist? I said, this is the guy who rejected Yoda and Ben or Obi-Wan Kenobi's request to kill
Yeah.
his dad. He's like, no, I can still save him. I know there's good in him. He stepped to the Emperor and he stepped to Vader and he defeated them both. Well, with the help of Vader. But you know what though? It took heart and courage and optimistic feelings to get through that. You're telling me 30 years later he's scared of his nephew? Are you kidding me? Ben is not on the level of the Emperor and Darth
Hmm.
freaking Vader. There's no way that makes sense story wise. And to me, when him throwing over the saber, I'm like, that's when I knew that movie was going to be bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know this is guys. I know whoever's watching. I don't mean to be negative the whole time. I apologize, but this proves right here what Disney should have done from day one.
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, I freaking called it. I don't want to sound like a prophet because I'm not
You
the
did.
first
You did.
person. I'm not the first. Listen to last week's episode and understand why I'm super happy because my prediction was that we'd see him at the end. We'd see him like turn into the camera on Tython, pick it up like a piece of rubble, and like you said, maybe seeing his lightsaber hilt, maybe seeing his boots, and me, as cosplayer Luke, I'm gonna know immediately it's him, as well as many other
Right.
people on the planet. And we'd be like, oh, what's Luke gonna do in season 3? Oh, are we gonna see his face? Oh, who's playing? They gave it to us all, and we're gonna just jump right into that scene. Screw it, I'm gonna go right into it
That's
because
fine.
that's what everybody wants to talk about right now. We'll start at the beginning of the episode later on. We have our buddy Ben coming in a little bit. He's a little bit late tonight, but we're gonna have his thoughts on Luke Skywalker and everything else as well. And we also have Above and Beyond Developing Potential CIC. any ideas around Grogu and the Book of Boba Fett, we will get to those towards the end of the episode. We're going to get into all that nitty gritty of both of those questions and where they could leave. But as far as I want to just talk about my initial reaction. I watched this episode like I usually do before work on Friday morning at around, I got started around, I think 5:30 or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, and it's a solid episode for the final episode. And going into it, I'm gonna get this off my chest because you were getting stuff off your chest at the beginning of the episode. I for whatever reason thought, oh man, Jon Favreau is gonna direct the last episode because I seen a list of like the people that were directing, and he would
Yeah.
direct 2 episodes. And then we got the information the night before, oh, Peyton Reed's doing it, and I'm like, oh no. I literally said to myself, like, "Oh no!" Like I was
Yeah, yeah,
like, "What you guys were saying that Jon Favreau was gonna do it?" Like, play it,
that's what
read,
I thought. I thought I know he wrote it, and I thought he was going to
yeah,
direct it.
yeah. So I was like,
So
"Wait a minute!" I was like, "This is the same guy that did episode 2, and you know how we all loved season or episode 2 so much, right?
yep.
The one with the killer spiders. It's like, great, we're gonna have this guy do that." And I love the Ant-Man movies. Like I thought they're great. I just watched. I'm doing a rewatch of all the MCU films. Me and my parents watched Ant-Man. That's one of the movies they like the most out of all the ones they've seen
I
so
really
far.
enjoy him, man. Yep, very
So
good.
I was like, okay, we'll see. I'll put it as I was like a little bit disappointed when I heard that news, but I remained optimistic, thinking like maybe they got him to do the finale and also asked him to just do this random episode. And that's what I feel like happened after watching this episode, after watching the fandom, including ourselves, like, oh, episode 2 was not good. This Peyton Reed guy, he's all right, and seeing how this guy actually pulled this episode and brought in the biggest reveal in Star Wars history next to like
Yes.
Luke, I am your father, or no, I am your father moment in Empire Strikes Back. Like this is one of the biggest reveals in Star Wars, and this guy pulled it off like a master. That whole tension that was ratcheted up with the Dark Troopers punching through the door. You see how strong the Dark Troopers are when freaking Din Djarin is struggling. And we've seen him take down huge opponents, and he's struggling against these droids that are hulking. Just one droid. What is an entire platoon of these droids gonna do? They're dead. You know, Moff Gideon says
Yeah.
they're dead. I'm gonna live. Grogu's gonna live, and you guys are screwed. Sorry, but this was all in the cards from the beginning. You know, and just that slow ratcheting up. You got the alarm going off. Oh, what's that?
Hmm.
For whatever reason, and I couldn't remember his name last week. Carson Treva, the Asian actor that was in the episode 5 or 6 or whatever. He was with Carr doing the New Republic pilot. I was like, oh, that's
Yep.
the New Republic flying in. And I realized, oh, there's only one X-wing. Oh, what are we getting here? And I was started yelling from that point on. And again, 5:30 in the morning, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And I see the cloak, I'm like, yes. And then
Yep.
immediately, like, I start like tearing up because I'm like, it's actually happening. I can't control myself. And then I'm like laughing like a maniac, like hysterically. And I'm trying to like muffle my voice so I didn't wake anybody up in the house because it's early as hell. I'm like, you know,
Right. Right.
I'm like, oh, I can't hold this back. And then just seeing how he wrecks everybody with that green lightsaber, it reminded me of Anakin Skywalker, his father, like this kind
Yes.
of like aggressive style where he's like swinging, doing spins, and then using the
Yep.
force, which is a force, but like you said, this is the kind of Luke Skywalker we've been wanting for years. Like we've had in our
Yes.
minds what Luke Skywalker, what we could imagine after he defeated Vader and the Emperor. He's continuing to go around. We know from the canon novels, he's continuing to go around the galaxy, gathering information
Yep.
and knowledge from all these like ancient Jedi sites. Like, so he's got to be even stronger than we've seen him before. And
Yeah.
we see him in
He's
this range. He's killing these Dark Troopers, which, as
killing
we've
them.
seen, Din Djarin couldn't even take one out, almost died from it, and he's going effortlessly. Like it looked effortless to him. He's force pushing them, just crushing them. And then the reveal, I was like, the whole time, I was like, oh, is he going to take the hood off? Oh, is he going to take the hood off? Is it going to be Sebastian Stan? What's going on? And I was like, holy crap, they actually did the same thing with Tarkin, and it looks even better. Like, yeah, granted, watching it over and over and seeing screenshots, yeah, you can see like a little bit of digital stuff in there,
Right.
but it still looks good, and I was still sold in
Didn't
the
care.
moment. I was
Yep.
still sold in the moment, and the voice was there, Mark Hamill's voice. I'm like, how did they
Yes.
de-age his voice? First off, like the audio was like crazy. Like obviously Mark Hamill doesn't sound anything like it did back then, so it's like, how did they do that? And then, oh man, so I was just,
Look.
I was
Look.
I was
Look.
a mess, man. I was like just
Okay,
tears, just like, oh my god.
let's
I was
break down that particular scene. Okay,
like,
I loved it. Like, first of all, the music. When the
oh
music,
yeah,
when you get the whoom whoom, like the build up, and first of all, the use of the security footage, how
yeah,
they showed the fight,
yeah, yeah,
which was I thought they're gonna just show like cut scenes of like him fighting, but through the security footage, I was like, that was where you didn't know who it was because the
yeah,
saber wasn't colored. It
yeah.
was some shot. I was like, that's a smart move. But then the music in this episode is all the music in the episodes are great, but to when Luke arrived and it
Hmm.
was like, wait a minute, who is this person? And it was a build because it could have been a dark side character. How the music started
Yeah.
out with like the humming and the
Hmm.
womp. I'm like, okay, and then all of a sudden you see the saber action. I'm like, who is this? And I'm thinking it can't be who I'm thinking. And
Oh,
then you see the screen. I'm thinking, oh my god. And to see his fighting style
yeah.
was great because we all know Luke wasn't a master swordsman in
Yep.
the movies. He was getting better, but he
Hmm.
wasn't like by Return of the Jedi, he was you definitely see his skills like improved. But to see this version, which is again, people have to realize 5 years later, so Luke again, he's about 28, almost 30. He probably learned from his dad's form, Obi-Wan's form,
Hmm.
Kit Fisto's form. Maybe he's probably seen all different forms of lightsaber techniques. He looked very much like Anakin in that fight, like just
Oh
how
yeah.
Anakin slices through and how smooth he is and he holds his position and it was fluid. I Chris, let me ask you this question. Did you think Luke looked panicked at all
Not at
fighting?
all. He was so
Not at
confident in his
all.
abilities,
Not at
man.
all. He looked so
Ah.
smooth. And this is again why I get mad at the sequel trilogy because Rey can't fight, neither can Kylo. I'm sorry. The saber training
Oh yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
god was not good. I mean,
No.
they hacked it. They hit it like baseball bats. This is what we needed. This is what the fighting we're used to now when it
It
comes to
really
full.
felt like the prequels combat.
Yes, absolutely. And people to tell me that Kylo Ren didn't have much training, are you serious? Kylo Ren should have looked like this in the sequel trilogy because Kylo's 30 years old. You're telling me he didn't learn how to fight from Luke and also from Snoke?
Yeah, I
Come on.
know.
So it's like I can see Rey's fighting style being off,
Uh
so
huh.
be it. But Kylo, come on. Again, this is why I love the prequels in the original trilogy did what they needed to do, but that worked for that original trilogy. Don't tell me you couldn't have done this 8 years ago when you bought the films, when you bought the company. Like who I want to know who the coordinator was for this fight because it was awesome.
Yeah.
We have to give that person props because that person executed choreography the way it should have been done. It served the character's purpose. And again, I get mad at Ryan Johnson and J.J. Abrams. I'm sorry to keep saying that, but you guys really screwed up. And Kathleen, that's on you. But hey, you know what? We're turning the page. I'm
Mhm.
trying to forgive that whole stuff, and we're moving forward. But yeah,
Mhm.
I love the fight sequence. I love the use of the force powers, dude. Oh my
Oh
god. Oh,
man.
he's moving them, tossing them. He force crushed that one. I thought it was a video game. I was like, is that Galen Merrick? Like, you know what I mean? I was like, that's Galen Merrick for the Force Unleashed when he with the crush. Like that's what I'm saying. We wanted that. We all wanted that. That's all we knew what Luke would be. I'm like, oh yeah, that's Galen Merrick right there doing that. And then
Oh
we all
yeah.
knew Anakin would have done something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, yeah. But loved it. Loved that whole fight. Loved the intro when he took off the robe to
Mhm.
reveal it. Oh my god. I was like, oh, 1998 again, 10 years old Milton, just giddy like a child.
Yeah.
And the CGI was a bit off, but I didn't care. I didn't care because that was Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
That was Luke.
Uh-huh.
Like that's our hero. Like again, if you ever's watching, go watch any reaction to that reveal. You're going to see grown men and women super crying about that because they love what they're seeing. And a lot of them saying, "Hey, I don't care about the CGI." And they're going to perfect that later and just
Yeah.
redo it like in future
Mhm.
releases. And again, Luke series is a guarantee. I'm booking it right here.
Hey, I don't know about a guarantee, man, because
I'm booking
I
it.
well, put it this way, if they had a series in mind, they would have recasted Luke as Sebastian Stan or somebody because I don't know if
Hey,
they could do an entire series with CGI. You know how
you're
expensive
right.
that's
You're
gonna
right.
be?
You're right, Chris. They can do. Listen, they can bring Sebastian Stan back, which again, that's fine with me. And I'll forgive it. I'll say, you know what? The Luke we got in in Mandalorian, that's at the time period. Let's say Luke series takes place 3 years from now, from that particular time. Okay, I'm cool with it. Let's move forward. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I'll forgive it at that point.
Okay, okay. Well, what do you think about his dialogue? We talk all about his combat and his abilities, which is just so awesome. What'd you think about his demeanor, the way he just spoke? What was his exchange like with Din that you really enjoyed? Did you enjoy it? Not enjoy it? How was that for
I really enjoyed it. And like I said, I'm gonna be calm now at this point. I really enjoyed it.
you?
I thought it was perfect. Luke Skywalker post 1983. The way he stood, the way he held his hand. Like I don't know if you noticed, the way he put his hand over his other hand
No,
was the same way he did it in Return of the Jedi.
really?
Yeah, I mean, it's just how he. It was Luke. It was his mannerisms were perfect. As for the dialogue, I really enjoyed it because he didn't. I'm glad he didn't say his name because there was no need for that. Like we all know that's Luke, and I think Moff Gideon knew who that was.
Oh, wait, he
But
never said his name.
he never said his name because he was like,
Oh, that's gonna
he
really
was
bring in questions now.
yes, because he's like, "Are you a Jedi?" He's like, "I am," and then he says, "Come, little one," and then he's like, he's asking for your permission, and he's like, I'll protect the child with my life, blah blah blah, without training and without with skill and all that stuff. He said, like, he didn't have to say his name, which I thought was perfect, because I don't think Luke's braggadocious like that. So he was a calm presence. He's just there to collect the child and to move forward and go about his way. And I thought it was a very emotional dialogue, very powerful dialogue. Again, I wish I could memorize the exact quote about talent because that really stood out to me. Because like he's right, without perfecting his talent and without being there to really to protect himself, he's in
Yeah.
danger all the time.
Didn't
And
Ahsoka say something like that as well along those lines in that
yeah,
episode?
something to that extent, And it's like he's right, because he can be exploited, and if he don't know how to perfect his talent or master it, then it's over for him. So I thought the dialogue was perfect, and let's not forget this is called the Mandalorian. Seeing how the Mandalorian interacted with the Jedi, seeing how everyone else was like, "Oh, it's a Jedi,"
Yeah.
like they were very much surprised to see one. And I was telling my friend James because he's like, he was watching season one this past week. He finally caught
Oh.
up to the whole thing. He's like Milton's like, why did the armorer make it sound like the Jedi have been away for so long? And I'm like, dude, don't you forget? Like at the end of the prequels, Palpatine made them outlaws. Palpatine wiped them out and made the Jedi, outlaw number one. So they've been
Mm-hmm.
gone for almost 30 years
Mm-hmm.
from at the end of Revenge of the Sith to, beginning of Mandalorian. Like they've been gone for almost 25 years, dude. So like they would be seen that way, and for anyone to say like that's a Jedi is very. It wouldn't surprise me that they're like, oh wait, that's what they look like. That's what they do, So
Yeah.
to me, it makes sense. It was just perfect dialogue. It was well written, well structured. It's hardcore emotional.
Oh yeah.
It was nice to see how it ended and how we got the conclusion thus far of the relationship between the child and Din. I had no issues with the dialogue.
Cutting in real quick. I have to mention this because it's a really nice touch with this action sequence is when he's fighting and he's on the security cameras. You
Mhm.
see Grogu going up to the security cams and touching. Oh,
Yep.
that's what I knew. I was like, oh my gosh, it's a Jedi strong in the Force,
Hmm.
and he wants to get like that means like he wants to voluntarily go with him.
Hmm.
Like he's calling to the Jedi, like he's calling to him to
Hmm.
come save him. Like,
Right.
damn, it's so deep when you think about it because maybe Grogu was calling out the whole time, and that's how Luke found the position on the light cruiser without any
That's a good
kind of
point. That's a
beacon.
good
Like
point.
he's
I didn't
calling
think about
out to
that.
him. Yeah.
I did not think about that. Again, that line he says about he's asking your permission or he's seeking your permission. It's like, oh man, that's amazing. Like even though you can tell the kid wanted to go, he still wanted to like he wanted to get it approved by his dad figure, and
Mm-hmm.
it was
Mm-hmm.
cool to see that because it could have been easy writing to say, hey, you know what, let's keep the kid and Mandalorian together, but it'd be a waste of bringing Luke in for
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
Um, but just to see that Luke understands, like, hey, that's a connection that this kid has. I
Mm-hmm.
can't ignore that. I'm not the old way of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not dogmatic like them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's where you got to see the lore of the Jedi too. It's like Luke has embraced like it's okay to have love and compassion. Like that's what makes us good people. You know.
Exactly. This Luke really reminded me of the Battlefront 2 Luke. In the Battlefront 2 campaign, There is
Yes.
a sequence where you play as Luke on this one planet called Paleo, and
Hmm.
you encounter one of the Inferno squadron members. His name is Del Mico. And
Hmm.
in that entire mission, you're just slaughtering stormtroopers. And you encounter him, and Luke doesn't do anything to him. And he's
Hmm.
questioning, like, you killed all my men, but you're not trying to attack me. And he basically says, because, like, you show me no harm. Like,
Yeah.
Luke is this, like, powerful Jedi, and right now I'm reading the High Republic novels, and they are what you would expect of a Jedi. And I'm seeing this episode as I'm reading this High Republic novels, and I'm like, holy crap, like, he must have found some High Republic data files and stuff, because he is behaving, like you said, without any kind of dogma. He is behaving as the quintessential Jedi. He is really seeing that knowledge and
Hmm.
defense of the innocents and bringing balance to the Force, and not power hungry and understanding and empathetic to the people before him. So that just, man, this is the Luke again that we all expected to have been that kind of individual in between those 30 years, and to get that continued story. And then going into more of the relationship between Din and Grogu, I love that little scene at the end where he's reaching for the helmet. He takes the helmet off. We've been projecting
Yes.
him to take this helmet off. He's taken it off in the previous episode to get the information. We see how much he cares about Grogu, and then Grogu touches him on the face. Like, that did me in hard. And then to see him, like, with the tears in his eyes, I was like, this hardened Mandalorian is crying because he's grown so attached to this Grogu, and the Grogu has taught him so much about himself, really, that it's just so sad to see them separate. And you
Yeah.
just
No, that
gotta
was
wonder,
emotional.
like, they gotta meet up again, but there's a lot for him to learn. And who knows how
Absolutely.
long it'll take him to learn. He grows very slowly. As we've seen, he's 50, probably 51 years old at this point, because it seems like probably several months have gone by. But then again, it's like a whole nother plot line, a whole nother plot thread that opens itself up. And this really does blow the doors open. Like, introducing
Yes.
Luke, you can introduce, like, a lot of other characters now because Luke is in there. But it just dawned on me, like you said, his name was never mentioned. And you got another big character that is a huge link to Anakin and thereby Luke, and that is Ahsoka Tano. I
Yep.
want to see Din somehow bring up that this Jedi existed with a green saber, and
Could you?
oh man, they got to meet
Yeah.
up.
You
Filoni
would
is
think. You would
involved.
think.
He's
You.
got
You.
to
You
have
would.
them
You.
meet.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Chris. I don't disagree. You would think that Luke and Ahsoka would have crossed paths over the last 30 years or whatever. Because again, like pretty much, and I was telling this to my friend yesterday when I was talking to him. I said, Anakin. Let's say Anakin didn't turn dark. Let's play the what if like Marvel has done for their stories. What if Anakin didn't turn dark? They have Leia and Luke. Ahsoka would have been like their aunt, pretty much.
Yep.
Okay, like Ahsoka would have been like their godparent. So to sit there and like see that she's gonna say, "Hey, your dad trained me. I'm part of your family. I can tell you more about your father." Like that'd have been so dope to see that, and we still could get that. Like, could you imagine getting a scene with Prime Luke with the Prime Ahsoka
uh,
and saying, "Hey, like you knew my father."
yeah.
Like when he was a Jedi, please tell me more about that. Can you
Oh
imagine the
man.
emotion we're gonna get from if we do get
Oh
this that we
man.
would get? Like this, you're right. This opened the
Dude.
doors up for so many options and stories to tell for Luke to learn about his past, about his father and his mother. You know what I mean? And then for Ahsoka to say, "Hey, I knew Anakin before the Vader stuff. I saw how good his heart was, how
Mhm.
much he cared and loved people, how
Mhm.
much he cared, to be a Jedi, and how much like that would be off the hook. Like again, if we ever get it, I'm clapping for Disney all day.
Yeah.
But you're right, and even though I said earlier, book it for the Luke series. You're right, Chris. We may not even get that. It'd be hard to do it with just full CGI, whatever. But again, if we do get a Luke series, please pay that off. Like, I'm sorry, we need to see more of him now because
Mhm.
now the fans are gonna be clamoring. Like, hey, you gave us that 10-minute scene of Luke. Please give us like an 8-episode series, and that's all we
Huh.
need. Like, that's all we need.
Mm.
So,
I do like the poetic nature of the fact that his mentor was Yoda, and now technically not really his first student because technically Leia is his first student within the first year of him,
Hmm.
but I guess you could say his first student of maybe his Jedi Academy is also the same species of as Yoda. So it
Yep.
comes full circle. He gets taught by Yoda, and now he's gonna teach a Yoda-like species. So I thought that was really cool, like coming around full circle, thinking about it that way.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. And I mean, I've been seeing people speaking of Baby Yoda. I've been seeing people talk about like, well, did he survive
Oh yeah.
Kylo's rampage and all that type of stuff? Which again, I don't know. And I've heard people say, well, if he did, then Baby Yoda Grogu should be the main person of the next trilogy of films to really introduce us into like a new stage of Star Wars. Which again, that could be a possibility. Um, but again, overall, Chris, and again, I'm sure we're going to talk more about the previous stuff to Luke in the episode. Overall, this episode, this finale paid itself off
Mm-hmm.
because we got to see pretty much the resolution of,
Yeah.
what the Mandalorian's quest was.
Mm-hmm.
We got to see, Moff Gideon and how he tried to manipulate and what his character was all about. The Death Troopers, the Dark Troopers, Bo Katan. We haven't talked about Bo Katan and the Dark Saber, because
Oh, we'll
that
talk
that's
about
that's a
it.
plot too. Where season 3 is going to take place at and that type of thing. So overall, this episode paid off for me, and
Mm-hmm.
I just from beginning to end, I really enjoyed it. I really have no complaints about this episode at all.
Yeah, it really did its job as a season of television finale, right? It did its
Facts.
job where it set itself up from the very first episode. I have to find Mandalorians to help me find the Jedi. He finds the Mandalorians. He
Hmm.
goes, he finds the Jedi and hands off Grogu to the Jedi. And that's the resolution of the story. That's literally where it ends at the end of this episode. And here we are. What's the next adventures? And we'll get into that. But, we can spend all night talking about Luke, and I would certainly love to do so. But we have a lot more episode to talk about for the next probably 45 minutes here. So I want to just start like we usually do and kind of go from the beginning and work our way back towards the end of the episode. I really enjoyed how this episode opened up with the Lambda class
Yep.
shuttle, seeing Slave One firing its laser cannons. Oh, that sound, man. The sound of their laser cannons to me, it's like it's just iconic to me. I love that sound. And just seeing the Lambda shuttle, like we haven't seen a lot of them. We've seen them in Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back. Seeing them in a dogfight was pretty freaking cool. And then getting that awesome scene that again kind of like makes you shiver your spine with how radical these Imperials of the Remnant are,
Hmm.
and how the guy is a gun to the head of the scientist, kills his own man. Of course, he kills his
Right.
own man like he's nothing, and then just talks like about Cara Dune, about the Death Star, and about
You're not lying.
Alderaan.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my gosh, that sent a chill down my spine, man. Like the way the guy was so fanatical about it.
Hmm.
And then Cara Dune
Yeah,
just
he.
takes him out, but it's like, wow.
Yeah, and what's crazy is like, well, again, I know. I mean, we noticed it's the teardrop, quote
Yeah.
unquote, they shared on her face. I didn't realize that was like the rebellion symbol, or maybe Alderandian symbol on her face. I
Uh-huh.
think that's what it was. Like, you have to go back and look at the episode. But he's like, yeah, I can tell by the drop on your eye or on your face. And for him to sit there and talk all that shit about Alderaan, and let's be real here. We all loved Alderaan, and we all like were emotionally touched by that planet because we had the connection clearly with Leia, but also with Bail Organa. So as
Mhm.
fans of that, I think we were kind of like, damn, really, dude, you gonna talk all that crap?
Yeah.
And he felt comfortable doing that, and he said about it was a good thing because it was wiping out terrorism out of the galaxy, and when she shot him in the face, shot him in the face, and this is what's crazy about this episode: the violence. Was kind of
Oh.
surprised they went ultra violent in this episode. I thought the Robert Rodriguez was off the chain, but this one was nuts because he shot his own pilot like they did like in Rogue One when Cassian shot that
Yeah.
that other
Uh-huh.
spy. So he
Yeah.
shot his
Tivik, yep.
pilot guy. She shoots him in the face, and then all of a sudden, Din Djarin takes the spear and breaks the stormtrooper's neck.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, wait a minute, like this is it's a kids show, right? Or like Star Wars. It's like, wait a minute, like they're not giving a bleep about this. They're pretty much saying, "Freak you kids, we're gonna go hard in this episode." So like, I was kind of shocked that they went that far because I was like, literally, I'm sitting in my bathroom, like I messaged you guys in the morning. I'm sitting and watching it, and she shot him in the face, I was like, damn, they went that far. Loved it, loved it. The dog fight was dope. Seeing that, and then how the doctor explained the ship and what was on the ship. I was kind of surprised he gave that information up super early and super quick. But I think he was like, hey, you know what the hell with this? He's like, I'm not even really with these guys. Go ahead, do what you got to do.
Yeah, and then we get the next scene. They go down to the planet, and I
Hmm.
love the little Easter egg from Clone Wars fans get from the Fang fighter of the Mandalorians parked there right by Slave One. You know, it's got the big arches. You know what I'm
Oh
talking about.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
neat seeing that. I really enjoyed
I
seeing that.
forgot that ship. Yeah, that ship was tight. I was like, oh yeah, that ship was off the chain.
And then they walk in this cantina, and there goes Casca Reeves and Bo Katan. And I
Yeah.
love how they included that little back and forth with Boba Fett about how he's a clone and about how his armor was just a donated to him or something. And it
Yeah.
was like a
Because remember how
slap
she
to the
says like, I heard your
face.
voice. She's like, I've heard your voice like 1,000 times or something like that. And then he was like, well, this is my father's armor. And then I think everyone else is kind of confused. And she's like, don't you mean your donor's armor?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wait, she's taking a pot shot at at Boba, knowing that he's the original unaltered clone. That's Django's son.
Uh-huh.
It was just cool to see the back and forth because it's like, but then don't they say Django was a foundling too?
Yeah.
So that was cool to know that because now Mando can be like, well, if Django took his helmet off, like I can do the same thing. Like it was just to me. I think this episode really also opened up. I think the last two episodes really opened up the stuff about the Mandalorian Kree and
Oh
about like,
yeah.
hey, you know what? There's different sects of it. Different like extremes of it. So I think we're starting to see like Din starting to really question who he is as a Mandalorian.
Yeah,
So, but
yeah,
that
yeah.
yeah.
Following up on the comments real quick, following up with you guys, we got my buddy Studio General Lofi. What's up? Hey, how's it going? We got Above and Beyond also chiming in on our previous discussion about Ahsoka and Luke is an amazing idea having them meet. And he's also saying it's not a kid's show anymore. Guys,
Yep.
I don't think it was a kid's show from the very first scene. I mean, remember to get guy cut in half by a
Yeah, I forgot
damn
about that. Yeah.
Blastor.
Yeah, true, very true. But it's how they cut that scene, though. I think. But again, when she shot him in the face, we've never seen that in Star Wars
Wait,
that
were
I
you able to
remember.
actually like freeze frame that moment and see him getting shot in the face?
I'm pretty sure you can. Like, if you, I'm pretty sure you can. Listen, because they didn't cut from it. Because he gets boom and he goes down. I was like, man, like they really went that far with it.
Yeah, I
Like again,
guess it
I was
makes
just very, I
sense.
was very
Like
shocked.
most of the
But I
time
love
they
it.
shoot somebody getting shot through a helmet, so that's not as bad.
Yes. Right? Because the helmet can block. Like you really can say, "Oh, that's cartoon violence."
Yeah.
No, this is real people getting shot in the face. Like
Oh my
that.
god.
There's no shield on him. Like droids get shot in the face. They're droids. That's cartoon violence. When you shooting human beings different. Like I was just very shocked, but I
Yeah,
loved it.
yeah. Your brother is saying Cara Dune's cursing might have made the episode. If I don't get a skank in my Scud Pie shirt for Christmas, I will be disappointed. Oh
Yeah.
man. We're gonna jump ahead real quick because I do want to talk about this point about Cara Dune before I lose it. I thought she was a goner. Dude, I thought she was dead in this episode. As soon as her gun jammed, I was like, "Up, this is her moment to shine. This
Yeah.
this is her going down. She's in the middle of a hallway getting shot at with no cover, and her gun is freaking jammed." But then she pulls it off and slams him with the gun.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was awesome. And then
I thought
yeah,
Cara Dune. She was if she was probably the third MVP of this episode
yeah.
because you got to see how sensitive she was about her planet of Alderaan. You
Hmm.
got to see her whole like character development of like being the marshal. She takes that very seriously because she said about, hey, don't kill Gideon. We need him. I need information from him. But to see how she just took control and those four women, and again, all those men out there who think Star Wars isn't for women, freak you because women are just as powerful in this particular universe. And to see Kara, Finnick, Cass, and what's her name?
Bo-Katan?
Katie Sackhoff's Bo-Katan just
Yeah.
wreck shop
Oh
through those
man.
stormtroopers was amazing. And there was a little bit of humor again with the gun because I thought she was gonna get hurt too, but it was kind of humorous to see. Hey, you know what? My gun's jamming, get
Oh
it
my
fixed because
gosh.
guns do jam in real life. So even though it's not supposed to be funny, it was kind of funny. But then when she just said, "Hey, boom,
I love
we're good
how
to
she
go,"
just
bang,
slammed
bang,
it
bang,
in the
bang, bang,
ground.
like that was awesome. And like I said, those women, like I think we're gonna get more of those women in future episodes of different shows because they're badasses.
Yeah, he's
And
saying
and
we
and,
got
and
yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. Go back to the chat, man. The chat's cool too, man. Yeah, I want give us the information, guys.
Lowdown Show. That's my friend Edwin. He's got a YouTube channel. Check it out. The Lowdown Show. He's
Yeah,
saying Cara Dune TV show with Bo-Katan. Sign me up. I think she's gonna be the lead character of what is it called? Something of New Republic. Rangers of New Republic.
Rangers of the New Republic. Yeah,
If
yeah.
Cara Dune isn't the main character of that, I'll be very surprised because she's a marshal of the New Republic. So
Yeah.
obviously she's gonna be part of that show in some degree. But and I know I'm kind of jumping around on this episode, but going back, I did like the scuffle between Boba Fett and Casca Reeves. And Casca Reeves apparently even used like her wrestling move on Boba Fett in that very sequence. Like she ran around the wall and then just like
Yeah.
slammed him down. Like, oh
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
carnage.
that's Sasha's move. Like as she calls it, the bank or the
Oh,
something about something the bank. Like it's her finisher move. It's really cool.
that was sweet. And I love that how they're injecting these very physical women actresses, such as Cara Dune using her MMA abilities. You got Casca Reeves using her wrestling abilities. It's freaking cool,
Yeah.
man. They're using
Well,
these
let's
actresses.
and Chris, let's be real here, okay? And this is one of my criticism again. I'm sorry to be negative, guys. I'm just going back to the logic here because I'm a logic person who likes to look at things as a whole. I know a lot of fans love Ray, Daisy Ridley. Daisy Ridley's a nice person. I can't hate on her, but you did not believe she could fight. You cannot believe she can hold herself up. Yeah, she has a staff and whatnot, but she wasn't a person in real life that we can think could hold her own. Okay, you look at Gina Carano, Ming Non Wen or Non Wei, I say her
Yeah,
name, um, Sasha Banks, even Katie Sackhoff, because Katie Sackhoff is tough and she's a fitness warrior, and we've
yep.
seen her do a lot of athletic stuff. I believe those women can do stuff in real life, and I believe if they were clearly as actresses, can do things physically in movies and films because we've seen them do it. So I believe that these women can go through a garrison of stormtroopers and wreck them, and we saw that. It was amazing, you know. And again, all those fanboys out there who cry about women taking the lead, and because I know men were mad about the whole A Force cameo in Avengers, miss me with that. This is badass. Okay, so women are allowed to be superheroes too, because we all love Wonder Woman and Catwoman. So miss me. This was awesome.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Got to talk about Fennec Shand if I'm including all the women in this episode because Fennec Shand, I love seeing her use her martial combat abilities and martial arts
Yep.
because I watched all the seasons of Agents of Shield, Marvel's Agents of Shield. She does a
Yeah.
freaking great job as the
Awesome.
character she plays in that. And I love seeing her do like some really cool stuff, like doing like the double kicks in midair on the stormtroopers. It was just really cool just seeing those kind of abilities, everybody having their own flavor of combat. Everybody, Cara Dune, once she gets her blaster ready, oh my gosh, that repeating blaster just tore through ranks of stormtroopers. Just great stuff.
Yeah.
Overall, we're gonna get into a little bit of the Dark Troopers, and again, we mentioned this in the beginning of the episode. You got Din Djarin struggling against this. I love the tension. I loved
Mhm.
how the blast door was slowly closing. You think that he gets it closed in time, and the hand comes through, and you're like, oh crap. We've seen these
Right.
guys in episode 6, right? Episode 6 of this
This is episode
season,
6. Yep.
and they didn't do a damn thing. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they didn't bring the Dark Troopers into the series to just not show them because they've done that in Star Wars before. They've done that plenty of
Mhm.
times with the new sequel trilogy films. They show off really cool looking dudes that don't do crap, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
please don't do
Phasma.
that. Yeah,
Phasma.
please don't do that
So
to us.
yeah.
No, they showed us this thing is awesome. It's blaster proof. Now I don't know if that's Cortosis or Beskar, if it's just really I think it's just really heavy armor because Luke was just slicing through it like butter, it seemed like. Um, but seeing that little struggle there, seeing that thing bash his helmet when it started punching his helmet,
Yeah.
I was like, his helmet's gone. I was like, this is how he's gonna remove his
I thought
helmet.
it was gonna crack.
Yeah, yeah. That
Yeah.
shows you how strong Beskar is. Like, holy
Right.
crap. What'd you think about that fight, man?
Loved it. It reminded me of the Terminator 84, 1984 Terminator movie, the original. For those who haven't watched it, it's a classic film. Just how the robotics. It was cool to see how they were very much in sync, one, and how they tried to, move as one unit. But to see Den struggle in that fight, question you is like, man, like, is he going to get hurt? I had a feeling he was going to win, but I thought there was gonna be a repercussion of him winning, like he'll be hurt for some reason. But to see him struggle, which was cool because that showed how badass those robots really are.
Hmm.
And for them to fake us out after he killed the
Yeah.
robot and then just throw him out into space, I was like, that's I'm like, it's a great plan, but I'm like, that's it. I was like, y'all really gonna do this to us? I'm like, please tell me they're gonna like, because they got the tension built up of them like breaking through the glass,
Yeah.
and it's like, all right, I'm thinking, oh, they're gonna like somehow get out, and when he killed the robot, let him out in space, I'm like that's a waste. I mean, yeah, we saw one, but then I'm like, okay, they were playing with the audience, like they knew that we would think that, and when they saw them come back, it was cool when they came back. That fight was awesome. Clearly we're gonna get into the dark saber fight between
Oh
uh
yeah.
Din and Moff Gideon. But it was just cool to see how the team had a plan. They were executing that plan. It was going off without a hitch. So overall, great fight, well shot. Peyton Reed, again, you were gaining my respect
Uh-huh.
as the episode was going on.
Uh-huh. For sure. We're gonna get into him. You mentioned the guy. You mentioned him, Giancarlo Esposito, the Moff Gideon himself.
Mhm.
And man, this guy's got a lot of layers to him. He's got a lot of layers. I didn't expect him to go down as easy as he did. Now, this is part of the point of contention. Maybe he let him win. Maybe that's all on his plan. Maybe he wanted him to get the Darksaber to go against Bo-Katan to tear the Mandalorians, the rest of them, from each other, basically.
Mhm.
I mean, he put up a heck of a fight. He knew that those Dark Troopers were going to come back. I think he tried to set him up for a little bit of a trap. What do you think? What do you think about
I
the
agree.
character?
I
Yeah.
think I think I think he knew. I think he knew like part of their plan. I think he's a strategist. Let's be honest here. We have to think that he's a military strategist. He's a Moff for a reason. We all know Moffs are very high up in their imperial government. So he's a smart guy. And for him to say, let's be real, he said, "Assume that I know everything."
Yeah.
That's his first line to
Oh,
Din.
yeah.
Like, so he had a plan, a counter plan against what they were going to do. And I think he was like, well, if he gets the dark saber, he knows Bo's got to be around because he knows someone's hunting for it. So he assumed, well, if he takes it, he's going to fight her. Then Bo's girl Sasha Banks is going to have her back. He figured they would tear themselves apart. I think he didn't foresee Luke showing up. Facts,
Oh,
just to see
yeah.
how scared he was.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but again, that dark saber fight was awesome. I very much you can definitely tell there was a different guy in the suit because he was wielding the Beskar um, a spear.
Uh-huh.
I thought that was well used with that
Yeah.
Beskar spear. It was awesome. You can notice how it was getting super hot though when he
Yeah.
kept the blade on there, which was cool because you see like, hey,
Yeah.
Beskar can hold up ultra long like
Oh
that
my
against a
gosh.
saber. It was cool to see that it can break depending
Uh-huh.
on the type of weapon. Clearly,
Uh-huh.
lightsabers and dark sabers can do that. Um, Overall, well written, well shot fight. I loved how Moff was just playing games too at the same time. But I think he tried to put up a fight. I think he didn't just give up. I think
Yeah.
he tried to put up a fight. Because he tried to kill him at
Hmm.
first. He was slashing at him. Um, but yeah, Peyton Reed again. Respect throughout the episode at that point. Your boy was getting really, really hype. So yeah.
Yeah, because you see Moff Gideon in the beginning. He's got the blade. Grogu is like, I already got what I wanted, and that's a whole nother contention of the
Mm,
episode. Is I got what I wanted. I got the blood drawn from Grogu. That's all I need. You
mm,
can go with the child and leave. So, so his mission is complete to a certain degree. He got what he wanted with Grogu. What the heck are they gonna do with Grogu? I do not know, and that's something we'll hopefully find out in season 3. We got a little bit of that information in episode 5, or no, episode 4. Episode 4, I think. I'm not sure. Whatever one they were with the
yeah.
big the fuel refinery. Or the other one. They were on the Navarro. That one. The siege.
Okay.
The siege
The
episode.
siege,
Remember
yeah,
they
the
seen
siege
the things
episode.
in the
Yep.
tanks. So
Mm,
that's gonna be an ongoing plot thread. But yeah, like Mando actually believed him, and Mando, he could be a little bit naive, very naive at
oh yeah,
points.
for
He's
sure.
like, oh yeah, let me just think that this guy's gonna let me take Grogu, and you see Gideon just go with the sword. Oh my gosh! And the choreography was great because I love the one um, camera shot of them in the hallway and the dark sabers like cutting through the wall, and you see like
Yes.
Din backing up with the staff, and it's like, whoa, that's cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, we've never seen a Darksaber in live action until
Yeah.
the introduction of last year, so it's cool to see how it looked. I get impressed more and more every time I see a Darksaber, because like I want to get one so bad now. I need one. Like I really do. This is again me being a fanboy. Like I want a Darksaber because it's cool. I love the story behind it. It's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out in season 3, because I think we all know that Mandalorian's now gonna go help Bo-Katan pretty much bring Mandalore back to
Mm-hmm.
glory.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right, that's
yeah,
the next topic. The big one here is that whole confrontation between Bo-Katan and we got Din Djarin. Din Djarin gets him in handcuffs, and you know he had something up his sleeve because the entire time he's grinning from ear to ear like Moff Gideon. Who else would be in handcuffs and smiling like that? You know what I mean? Like the guy
right.
is such a devious villain where he thinks he's one step ahead of Mando and all the rest of them because he's like, you know something, you don't know something that I know. You guys are gonna fight it out, and that was the whole big plot twist that I didn't see coming. Was oh crap, like and Din is literally trying to give her the hilt. This is it, you know, here's the things, like this is gonna be fine, and she refuses it, and she's giving him that stare,
Yeah,
like she's gonna, like, oh gosh, like she's gonna wreck him, like oh
this is
my
my
god.
only thing about this episode. Only negative thing. I remember, and this maybe you can help me remember this, Chris.
Okay.
I believe in Rebels, and if
Okay.
guys in the chat, if you know this, please say something. I believe in Rebels. Didn't um the girl with all the hair,
Sabine.
Sabine, didn't she yield the saber to Bo in that episode?
She did, and I was talking to um a couple people about this, and
Hmm.
I think one of them is a kind of a really lame reason, so I'll let that one go first. Oh,
Hmm.
maybe she wasn't old enough. Maybe there's a rule where you have to be at least a certain age to be deemed worthy of ruling Mandalore. It's a very
What? See,
warrior
that's whack.
worthy thing. So she gave it to him. All right, that's one reason. Another reason that my buddy came up, I got to give him credit for this one, is he said something along the lines of when Sabine got the dark saber, she actually she didn't actually defeat somebody to take it. Remember, she just grabbed it from the heap that Maul just haphazardly left it there. So
Hmm.
she took it from somebody, but never battled somebody in combat to begin with. So hence they bypassed the rule because since she didn't get somebody from that, she didn't get it from somebody in a duel. She can give it away to somebody right away.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe that's something that they can do. I don't know. What do you have to say about this? Do you have any ideas?
I mean, I've heard that theory about she didn't actually win it. Fine, understandably so, but it's like this is where I think the continuity of it was a little off to me. But again, not complaining, just a little nitpick thing. But then I can see how Bo-Katan is very prideful. I mean, look, she's the sister of the Duchess, and we all know she is the rightful heiress to Mandalore. So I kind of was like, listen, I think I would have done the same thing Den would have done. I'm like, here, I don't want it, just take it. Like, I don't want this. Like, I'm all about the kid, and she's very prideful, and it was cool to see how Moff Gideon played into that, because he was trying
Mm-hmm.
to say, oh well, she knows what it's all about. It's not the prize itself, it's the story behind it. And I was like, man, this guy, he's just a freaking like manipulating son of a bitch.
Oh
But
my
yeah,
gosh.
so yeah, Ben, nice to see you.
Nice to
Yeah,
see you,
I'm like
dude.
I'm the single X-wing coming in. But
Luke's
okay,
here, let's get it.
yep. To jump right in on this conversation, actually, my theory on that why Bo-Katan was acting so like awkward about it. Think about it this way: Sabine gave her the dark saber. So think about it. Maybe her whole world just became shattered because she's like, crap. This entire time I've been a pretender because I actually didn't beat Sabine in combat.
Hmm. What,
Oh.
again, I've heard that. I've heard that too. And I understand that, but it's like at this point, it's like, listen, we all know you guys are on the same side. We all know Den has no interest in ruling Mandalore. We know that. Unless out of nowhere, deep down, he's saying I want to. But his character has never once indicated that. He's all about the kid. He's all about bounties. Well, before the kid, he's all about bounties and completing his missions and keeping to his word. Yeah, he has no interest in that. And I think he was trying to discover who his people were. Fine, so be it. But to rule Mandalore, that would make no sense for his character. So that's where I felt that was the only nitpicky thing about that episode. But again, I'm not complaining because again, Favreau, Filoni, and Peyton Reed, you do no wrong in my book when it comes to this episode. Go ahead.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
excellent. Yeah, that is really, man. I'm speechless. I was speechless watching this episode. All right, I was like, I gotta be able to do something to put my head back together after watching this episode in 2 days' time to talk about it for our review on Sunday night. So I got this far without being speechless, so I'm gonna keep it going. This is actually almost perfect timing because we're catching up to the big moment, and we spoke, me and Milton, at length about it for a good 30 minutes about Luke Skywalker. So it's up to you, Ben. We want to hear first off your reaction while watching the episode. Talk us through how you're feeling for our
okay.
legendary hero of the rebellion to show up.
Yeah. Well, my legendary reaction at 4 o'clock in the morning was freaking the heck out. Because all of a sudden, that whole scene was set up so perfectly. Big shout out to Peyton Reed, the way he directed that the entire episode, really. But that whole sequence was set up perfectly because, you have him say a single X-wing, like real sarcastically, like, oh, that's, whatever, what's that going to do? Because,
Yeah.
and then, then it flashes over to Grogu, like his ears perk up and was like, ooh, what's
Yeah.
going on? And then, it leads into like a dark cloaked figure. And I was like freaking out then. And just to see everybody's reaction, I love seeing every character's reaction. Grogu was obviously excited because he was connected through the Force. Din was basically in all the entire time.
Yeah.
Like Bo-Katan and then, they were like, pretty flipped out about it because, watching Luke basically just maul right through the Dark Troopers was incredible. And then to see how scared Gideon was, because you got to think about it this way. When, like we said before, the Empire is such a big organization, and Gideon knows, every Imperial person knows who Luke Skywalker is. So think about this: Gideon's sitting there watching this guy just maul down all of his Dark Troopers like they're nothing. It was an amazing scene, and I just love though how, like I said, how Peyton Reed didn't reveal Luke right away. Like, kept the hood on, kept the, didn't even whip the lightsaber out, and instantly. So I just really like how that whole scene was set up, and just to see all of the different characters' reactions, to really, witness a Jedi in action, because, to the galaxy's knowledge, Luke is basically the only Jedi out of how many billions of, living beings. So I thought that was, an incredible part of it. And I think the big part of it too, that really is great for just all Star Wars fans, is the last 2 seasons, all these characters were built up to be such big badasses, everything else. And then, like Gideon said, you struggled with one Dark Trooper. How are you going to deal with it soon?
Yep.
And then Luke comes in there and is like, nope, let's just take all of them out. And like, I was talking to my cousin about this morning. I love, after Luke, slices through all of them with his lightsaber, I love how basically at the end of it, just to really flex basically and show his power, he just crushes that one Dark Trooper all to pieces. Like,
oh my
that's
gosh.
like, and I love it because that shows how, basically how, Luke is the guy right now. Like, he is the most powerful Force user right now. And I think though, something, I'm not sure if you guys have touched on it at all, but I think this appearance of Luke, along with, we'll of course get future appearances, because how else is Grogu going to come back? So Luke will reappear at some point. But I think, personally with me, I'm not a fan of The Last Jedi. It's my least favorite Star Wars movie. But I do think if they do this right, if they do this Mandalorian, if they do Ahsoka, Rangers of the New Republic, whatever show Luke appears in, if they build up his character to be so badass, so unstoppable, so, I mean, he was almost arrogant. Like, he was just so calm, and, he almost, when he pulled his hood down, he really almost had kind of like a smug attitude about him, like, yeah, I'm the man. So if they spend these shows, if they spend these shows building up how smug, how almost arrogant Luke is in himself of being the legend, that could actually enhance his character more for The Last Jedi and the sequel trilogy as a whole. Because then when Ben turns on him, that basically could crush him so much. Like, dang, I'm on this high horse right here, and then like everyone always says with things, it'll never happen to me, and then it happens to him, and then boom, crushes him. So I think there's a really good potential to at least strengthen the sequel trilogy through these different shows.
Yeah, that's a really good point, is enhancing, right? Like, that's what the Clone Wars did with the prequels, guys. Like, it really turned the prequels into we didn't really like a lot of us didn't like Anakin a whole lot with the prequels, with how he was. But when we got,
Chris, let me interrupt
Matt
you, Chris.
Lanter,
Let me interrupt you real quick. So I'm looking here. It says here on Fandom Wire that a Luke Skywalker series is in development at Disney Plus exclusive. Just came out like 30 minutes ago.
all right,
Ooh.
let's do a little quick research while we watch.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. Like I said, when I just saw this pop up, I was like, man, hopefully this is legit.
Fandom Wire. I've heard of them.
Yeah. Fandom Wire, they're very much like they're 50-50. I mean, they're hit and miss. Again, if you're watching this out there, people in the chat, if you can confirm that, please let us know. But like I said, it's on Fandom Wire. Luke's just
And
Interesting.
well, on top of that, Milton and Chris, if say if that would turn out to be the case, in my opinion, so just to get the elephant right out of the room to start, I don't mind giving the unpopular opinion sometimes, but I think the CGI was a lot worse than Tarkin was in Rogue One, personally. And
I don't disagree on that, Ben. It wasn't as top notch with that, and I'm sure you're gonna get into your point. I think let's be real. You have a movie budget compared to a series budget. So and that's why I didn't really trip about it. But go ahead.
But that's exactly what I was going to say. You have a movie budget compared to maybe $10 million for an episode of this show or so. So like my take on that really is, I think if we get a Luke series, or even if Luke becomes more frequent in these live action shows, I think you just have to straight up cast him and be like, hey guys, we were doing this scene in Mando and basically turned over so well, like we're gonna actually bring in an actor to play him, just because you can't, see, my thing is, I don't even nitpick about the CGI on Luke. Like, sure, that is not great, but for what we got from his character, I can look the other way. I can look the other way, like Tarkin and Rogue One. I can look the other way because Tarkin and Rogue One to me worked perfectly.
Awesome.
So I don't mind it at all, but I would mind it if we have a full-blown series.
I agree, because I think Chris and I talked about that, because I said to him, like, I said, book it, Luke series. And I said, you know what, I can forgive it if they recast it and bring in like a lookalike to Mark Hamill, which I'm sure there's billions of people in the world that kind of look like a young Mark Hamill. We can find that. Clearly we have Sebastian Stan if he's able to do it with his current schedule. If they bring him in, you can use makeup, a little bit of CGI to make him look more like Mark Hamill at that younger Luke, and you can change his voice a little bit. But I mean, I'd forgive it, because here's the best way to do it. Just say, hey, let's say they start the Luke series 2 years after the Mandalorian, timeline of where they're at. Just say, hey, that was 2 years ago. His looks has changed slightly, he's gotten older. So be it. Like,
give him like a beard, like a slight like stubble or like a beard or something.
Stubble it. I mean, because he kind of had stubble in this CGI render of him, which again, to me, and I'm sure I don't know if you guys seen it. Look at all the reviews about people watching this show. They don't care about the CGI.
Nope.
They said that's just Luke.
Yeah.
People that's our Luke. That's all. They don't care to say, hey, we applaud Disney for giving us that. That's all they care about. Like, and again, I have to read something else, because I just saw this just now. Like, they were talking about this quote from from Jon Favreau. He says, "We always knew," and this is something I learned from over at Marvel and working with Kevin Feige, is you always want to keep the core fans in mind, because they have been the ones that have been keeping in touch, keeping the torch lit for years, many years. but these are also stories for young people and new audience. These are myths, and so you always want to have an outstretched hand to people who might not have the background. And so you're really telling two stories at once. You're telling the story for the people who are with fresh eyes, and you're telling the story of the people who have been there for the property and with the stories of the characters for so many years. And we make sure that you're honoring them as well. That's all what we
Yeah.
wanted from day
Uh-huh.
one from Disney. Tell the new stories, give us new characters, but you know what? Respect the boys and girls who were there from 1977 until 2005 with the prequels ending then. You got to respect those fans. So
Oh
I just
yeah.
want to read that. I just saw that because I mean, John Favreau just told us, he's like, hey, we're honoring the old characters and the new, and
Hmm.
we're respecting the old fans and the new
Yeah.
fans.
I can't wait real quick to jump in. I looked at Fandom Wire. I don't know if I could trust them completely only because they're not verified on Twitter. I don't know.
Yeah, they're hit and miss. They're hit
They
and miss.
claim that
I
they
agree.
have an exclusive tip. I don't know. Um, One thing everybody watching now will want to tune in, or they probably don't even have to tune in because it'll be on StarWars.com. There's going to be John Favreau is going to be on GMA, Good Morning America tomorrow, and I could
Mm.
bet you, well, I won't bet you money, but I could totally tell that he's going to do some kind of reveal for the Book of Boba Fett. And we're going to spend at least 10 minutes talking about this. The Book of Boba Fett. We don't know what the heck that is. So we didn't even talk about it yet, Ben, but that's what we're going to end this episode on, is just talking about what the heck. Did you guys actually stay for the credits, or did you have to watch it again
Yeah.
after somebody told you about it?
Well, here's my funny story. Well, actually, to throw out before we jump into Book of Boba Fett, I'll just be super quick about this. I can really applaud Filoni and Favreau and everybody over there for giving Boba Fett a personality because I loved the beginning of the
Yeah.
episode. I
Yeah.
love the beginning of the episode when they're talking to Bo and everything, and he like kind of sarcastically said he's like the Empire glassed over Mandalore, and you
Yeah.
know like that whole fight breaks out between him and Sasha Banks, like, and the thing is like sure temporarily in that fight if she slightly got the upper hand on him, but if that fight extends another 10 seconds we're gonna have a dead Mandalorian on the floor and it won't be Boba.
Facts.
So I love that part. I thought that was great. And then like even the part where, you know, they're going to Gideon's ship and he's like, you better keep your shields up, princess, or
Yeah.
whatever he says to Bo. Like I love the
Yep.
personality they're giving
Oh,
Boba Fett
I
because we've
love
always
it.
had him as such like a stone cold killer.
Yeah.
And now he has a personality. So I think that's going to be a great part of the Book of Boba Fett series. But to get onto that topic, I was stunned because like literally, the credits rolled. Well, actually, I found out from it because I flipped on. I saw like Star Wars Theory. I saw a bunch of people going live after the episode, and me and my buddy who was over, me and him turned on Star Wars Theory's live thing, and all of a sudden, Star Wars Theory's like, yeah, I about cried when I saw the Book of Boba Fett. And me and my friend Alex were like, whoa, hold on. And we paused the thing and went back to the episode really quick.
Shoot.
And we're like, hold on. Yeah, so we went to the credits really quick and turned it on and we were like, holy crap. Like I couldn't believe it. Like basically, I love how they were like, Boba, you're alive, and Boba just basically him and Fennec go in there and just shoot up the place.
Oh my gosh.
And I love that, she freed that Twi'lek.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was pretty cool. But and then Boba just ending by sitting on it. Like literally, I don't know about you guys, but that literally looks like the cover of a comic book. That
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah.
And I really thought it was it's gonna be really cool because it's taking place after Mando. So I don't know, it could honestly go in a bunch of different directions just because like is Boba gonna go around and like maybe take out the other crime lords or something? Because Boba,
Oh.
I think this is implying that Boba, since he went to Jabba's palace, is like the new
Yeah.
top
The
dog
crime
lord now. So I think we could potentially have him going around and taking out the other crime lords or something, or like a war between the underworld.
Yeah. So real quick, I'm going to chime in a little bit. So we have Boba Fett just sitting on the throne, as you say. That's like, what is this? Is it going to be the leader of the Hutts, because obviously the Hutts are gone. But my first reaction was like, holy crap! You see the twin sons like and Jabba's palace in its regal glory. Oh my gosh, I didn't know if I would ever see that again. Jabba's palace is like that is what hooked me on Star Wars, man. That was the first scene I remember watching back in like 1996 on like the old unaltered versions of Star Wars. I was over at my friend's house. I remember seeing Jabba the Hutt and all the aliens and the ragtag people in that place and thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is a universe I want to get absorbed into." And seeing this again, man, it warmed my heart. It brought me so much joy. The way that set was recreated to be one for one, like we seen it in Return of the Jedi, was just amazing. And I think the Book of Boba Fett, it's gonna get revealed tomorrow. If it doesn't get revealed tomorrow, what it exactly is, I don't know what they're doing. Especially with Jon Favreau being on GMA, he's gonna say something about that. Um, I think we've heard rumors before it's a miniseries. We've heard many rumors before, and everybody was wondering during the Investors Day when they announced like 10 Star Wars things, and it blew everybody's mind. Like, wait, wasn't there supposed to be a Boba Fett miniseries? This is that. I think this is that, and they were holding this back as a gift for the fans that have been sticking with Mandalorian. Like, oh, we're gonna throw this in at the end. The Book of Boba Fett, I'm kind of calling it now. I wanted to get that reasoning for how he survived the Sarlacc pit. I think this show is going to be interesting in its design. It's going to have a framing device where you're going to see the current version of Boba Fett on Jabba's palace throne. He might be doing some missions here and there, but he's going to reminisce to Fennec Shand or whoever he finds about back how he survived. I think it's going to be back and forth flashbacks and then current time episodes. You're going to see stuff. And I've seen some crazy theories. I've seen stuff like, oh my gosh, could we see Kira from Crimson Dawn if it's going to be a criminal underworld story? Who's going up against the Hutts? You have these other criminal syndicates. There's a lot of potential for this show.
Yeah, I can see that. I think you might have mentioned it before, Ben, in one of our conversations in one of our chats about it being like an Arrow type flashbacky thing for certain things. Yeah. I can get that vibe. I mean, because I was very shocked to get that scene. I thought it was just going to be like just a regular just a cut scene. Oh, he's just going to take over like the throne and whatever. Did not see that becoming a show, even though we've heard about the rumors and potential of it. First of all, seeing Bib Fortuna, who looks like a tank at this point, got the big old turkey neck because he's pretty much trying to be Jabba now. That actually made me laugh because I was like, really, that's Bib Fortuna? And then I just remember him being just like Return of the Jedi. He was just always Jabba's #1 pet and getting yelled at all the time, And for him to just be taken over, he's like, oh, Boba, blah, blah, blah. Again, got shot in the face, Chris. He got shot in the face, too. So I was just like, man, the violence in this episode is freaking crazy. And for him to just, like, sit on the throne and for Fennec to drink the I guess, the liquor she had or whatever she had, the alcohol.
Spotchka.
And just to sit there and chill. It was cool, man. I'm excited. Again, great post-credit scene. It was a great way to bring the fandom somewhat down and also prepare for like the next series of shows and the next series of Mandalorian. So
hold on a second here. Sorry to cut you off so soon. We have the Lowdown show giving us some very valuable information. So as the Star Wars community does, they often translate everything that appears in some other kind of script. He's saying that someone translated the text on a throne. It says Boba. So this adds a very interesting element because this is what I was going to get into. So Boba Fett was on pretty good terms with Jabba. Obviously, the last time we seen him, he was working on the sail barge, trying to take them out. He did his best, and, well, he got swallowed by the Sarlacc pit. So what happened between him getting swallowed to him going and just gutting up the whole place when he was in good terms with them? So maybe there's another story here, and that's where the Book of Boba Fett. Maybe he actually sat on that throne for a while. Maybe he was the Lord of the Crown. Because remember, we're 5-6 years after Return of the Jedi. That's a pretty large gap. He could have been on that throne, and then it got usurped by Bib Fortuna or something like that. Or maybe when he went out to find Mandalorian, Bib went on that throne, and he came back to seeing Bib on there. And that's why I just didn't even ask questions and shot him. Because this son of a bitch is going to steal my seat when I'm gone. Die,
Right.
So that adds a little bit of element.
You bring up a good point, Chris, because, like, you guys see the movie... Did you ever see the movie Riddick, the third Riddick movie with Vin Diesel? Yep. And how he, in the second one, he becomes the Lord Marshal, and how at the third one he's on the throne, but gets he gets tricked into thinking he's going back to his home planet. I think that's kind of what they may do with this, because you're going to see what happened. You're going to see that maybe Boba got out of the Sarlacc pit. You're going to show that he took over, and then Bib Fortuna screwed him over, and that's how Bib became the leader. I can see them using that strategy of it too, like, because again, I'm very curious to see what's going to happen, and I'm glad we don't know much about what that show is going to be about, because it don't seem predictable.
No, and what is a big contention going on in the community right now, the fans, is a lot of people think it's just a subtitle for season 3, and I have to strongly disagree with that fact
Mm-hmm.
or that thought, because if they were going to subtitle each season, it would have already had a subtitle for season 1, a subtitle for season 2. I know the story for Grogu is done and that's complete for now, but I don't think they would name it like the Book of Boba Fett. I feel like Mando's story with Boba Fett is done. Boba Fett
Mm-hmm.
fulfilled his promise where he would he would get Grogu safe if he gave him the armor. Their story is concluded. The transaction is concluded. Those guys went their separate way. Why would Boba Fett just like randomly factor into the story again to the point where the entire season is going to be called the Book of Boba Fett? And it
Right.
was basically telegraphed that it looks like Mando's probably going to help out free Mandalore. So that's like the opposite. That's not even on the table right now for anything with the underworld, as I can see at least. So
Well,
I just don't think that's going to be a thing.
that like if it was the subtitle, why would you put the entire Mandalorian show on pause for 2 years basically? Because that's what it would be. So I don't think it's a subtitle either. And also looking at it from a Disney point of view, why would you put all your stuff into one show when you could spread it out to 2 shows and have more eyes on your platform?
Hmm.
So, for longer versus Mando being say 8 weeks and then people get off Disney Plus, have Mando 8 weeks plus Boba for whatever 6, 4, whatever it may be. Um, I mean, also there's another thing too, Chris, to throw out there. I've heard some people speculating. What if the Book of Boba Fett is just a movie? They surprise
Yeah,
drop a movie
I
on
think
Yeah.
Disney Plus, and I'd be cool with that.
I'm looking at the
Um,
yeah. I'm looking at the timing, right? It says December 2021. What did Kathleen Kennedy say the release date of Mando season 3 is going to be? Christmas
Christmas Day.
Christmas.
2021. You don't have a lot of time in there to have a full-fledged series or miniseries right before Mando in the same month. I think it's either going to be a movie or it's going to be running concurrently with Mandalorian season 3, and that's going to be where the crossover begins. This year we'll have the crossover with that, and the next year we'll get Ahsoka, we'll get the Cara Dune, whatever, Rangers of New Republic, and we'll have like
Rangers of the New
4 shows
Republic.
going on or something. It's going to be insane. Like I said, I keep saying tomorrow, Monday, StarWars.com always releases the character posters on those
Mm-hmm.
Mondays after the fact, and they openly talk spoilers. I think we're not going to have to wait more than a few hours to figure out what exactly is going to happen.
Oh yeah. Speaking of this Boba talk, just to throw out there to ask both of you guys a question about Boba, actually. So I was talking with my cousin about this over the weekend when I on leading up to the finale, I watched, like I watched from the Ahsoka episode on.
Yep.
Well, anyways, so this is kind of maybe an excuse or a reason for Boba's quote unquote death in Return of the Jedi. So in his episode this season, in episode 6, when he goes up and he's looking at Gideon's ship and he's like, the Empire's back, and Fennec's like, it can't be. And he's like, this isn't some spice-filled dream, the Empire's back. So does that mean that has been a prior user of like spice, which is like,
Ah.
drugs basically in Star Wars? So maybe was he not ready and during episode 6, was he maybe not ready to jump into combat because maybe he was hanging out having some drinks, doing some spice, whatever that is in the Star Wars universe, and maybe he was all wigged out in episode 6 because literally he says this isn't some spice filled dream. So why would he say that if he'd never been that way before? So that makes me think maybe that could be the reason why Boba was so easily bested in episode 6.
Yeah, he was busy doing some death sticks on the Java cell bars.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, I look, man. I'm just so euphoric right now. Like what we got, in Friday's episode was amazing, and to get this whole Boba Fett payoff now is going to be amazing because again, we all wanted to see Boba's continued story. We
Yep.
all want to know if he survived, and clearly we know that now. But we want to see how he survived and what we're going to do with him moving forward. And again, have Tamara Morrison being that character again, which is that's amazing. So again, I applaud you, Lucasfilm and Disney, for now giving us what we've always wanted. So yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go. And with that, we're gonna move into our final thoughts. And for me, at least, try to give this thing a score. I know what I'm already giving it, but I'm gonna give it to Ben. Give
Oh
us your
man,
thoughts on the finale, the
the,
season
the,
finale.
the pressure's on. Well, I of course have to give this a perfect 10 out of 10, and it was by far my most favorite episode, Mandalorian. And it's not even because of just sure, obviously Luke has a lot to play into it, but the entire episode, start to finish, there wasn't really anything wrong with it, honestly. Like the opening sequence, like I love the opening sequence, seeing the Slave One in
Yep.
action, them
Yeah,
doing
we
the
were
whole
talking
scene,
about that.
I thought it was amazing, like seeing the Slave One back in action, the whole fight between Boba and Sasha Banks, like just the entire sequence. And then of course like the Dark Troopers, and then I loved. I don't know about you guys, but John Carlos Esposito, shout out to him because he made me convinced when he said, "Hey, I don't want the kid anymore. You can have him.
Ah,
I've done what I like." Like I believed it. I really believed it and thought he was gonna just give Mando Grogu. I was like, and then Mando didn't even care. He said, "Okay, just keep the dark saber. I'll take him." But so I thought that was great. And then of course the whole lead up, like I explained with Luke earlier, like with Grogu perking his ears up, I thought that was all amazing. And just finally getting this form of Luke that we never saw it in the original trilogy. We never saw it in the sequel trilogy. It was more just in the Legends books, and that was it. So it was great seeing Luke at his basically full potential in his
mhm.
prime. I mean, he just cut through those dark troopers like they were paper. So I thought it was all amazing. And of course, shout out to Favreau, Filoni, and I think you, Chris, even tweeted about a lot of people aren't thanking Peyton Reed enough because Peyton Reed did a phenomenal job
Mhm.
directing.
Absolutely.
And then also, I'm a person I can also give credit where credit is due. Um, I would definitely say a big thank you to Kathleen Kennedy because she has so many potential stories coming across her desk. Like Favreau and Filoni pitched this series. She could have just said, nah, and sure, there's been a lot of issues. Like I've been very critical of her over the past few years, but I can give her credit where credit's due because she did greenlight this series. So, big shout out to her. But I thought it was a great way to end the season. It opened doors for new things. The potential, the big potential we have going to Mandalore for the next season, and then, of course, the Book of Boba Fett coming. Like, I think there's a lot of potential for this show, for Star Wars as a whole. So many potential spin-off series could come out of this, and I just think it was a great way to wrap the story up, really, and just I think one of the most touching parts, like of course, we all cried when Luke came out. But I think one of the most touching parts of the episode was when Grogu, when Mando's talking to him and Grogu reaches out and like touches his mask and he takes his mask off. Like I thought that was a phenomenal moment. And there weren't even really have, they didn't really have to have any words. Like I thought it was great. And it was just a phenomenal episode. So with that all being said, I give it a perfect 10 out of 10. And I think we're in store for a lot of good things for our future in Star Wars.
There you go. 10 out of 10. Are we going to keep that train going? I'm going over you, Milton. Final thoughts, man.
Final thoughts. Honestly, this is by far the payoff that we needed, the payoff that we deserved. It's Star Wars that we all wanted from day one. I have to give props to Filoni, Peyton Reed, and John Favreau. And I have to say it, got to give props to Kathleen Kennedy for letting these
Yep.
filmmakers and these writers and these directors do what they know how to do and tell not just Star Wars stories, but tell stories with heart. Because just the last 15 minutes of this episode, no matter the CGI on Luke's face, because I don't care about that, it served the story's purpose. We needed Luke to show up to show that he is the Jedi that we all love, we all believe that he could be and was supposed to be. We needed to see the Mandalorian Din and that character arc go over the top with the child seeking his permission to leave. Seeing all that emotion and for seeing him to take the helmet off, to see the emotion and see how connected those two were, that's the reason why we love this show.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, again, even though Luke was that big payoff for us, I love how they still didn't forget it's about these two characters.
Mm-hmm.
And that was awesome to see. And I think that Star Wars is now in a great place. I'm hoping this is consistent for the next 10 to 15 years. Because we're going to get a whole bunch of stuff the next 10 to 15 years of more Star Wars content. I'm hopeful that this now reveal of Luke will lead into more stories with Luke incorporated or get his own series potentially. I'm very proud to see that the fandom of Star Wars right now is united. I've been watching so many clips over the last 2 days of people's reactions and what they thought about the episode. Everyone has been universally saying, except for Grace Randolph, saying that that they love the episode. They love seeing Luke. That's their childhood. And like I mentioned in this episode, when grown men and women are shedding tears of joy because they can see that their childhood hero is back and he's saving lives and
Mm-hmm.
and being a hero, Disney, hope you're paying attention now. This is why we love Star Wars. This is why we love Luke Skywalker so much, because he brings joy to our hearts. He makes us feel good again. Perfect episode, well directed, well written, well choreographed, and a big shout out to Nick Gillard, who is a fighting coordinator for the prequels, because this is the type of fighting that we wanted. It felt like prequel fighting. Let's get it. 10 out of 10. Perfect episode. That's all I have for you.
Oh man, you guys, Ben, Milton, you guys couldn't have said it better. I'm gonna try to sound somewhat coherent on this final thought for myself with this episode because man, oh man, there's just so much to like about it. But like you guys said, I could, yeah, Luke Skywalker. Obviously, he's gonna be a big part of this episode. Okay, but even before that point, I was engaged. This is the kind of finale you want. You start, like I was talking to Milton before, you start that first episode, you get the objective, you get to this last episode, you complete the objective, you complete the character arc for many of these characters, and in this specific episode, it doesn't really get a lot more epic. The stakes are up, they're up there. You get stuff that we haven't seen before in Star Wars. I love that whole entry. We didn't even get to talk about it, but I want to mention it, is the whole Lambda shuttle, how it folded its wings and it went inside the Arquetan's light cruiser. First of all, I'm just a sucker when it comes to these ships, and seeing, the inside of a Slave One last week, seeing the insides of the Arquetan's cruiser, which is a little bit different than the actual Star Destroyer. Yeah, real nitpicky nerd stuff. I love that kind of stuff. How the ties are coming up on the rack and they're going out and the guy's saying, don't launch anymore, don't launch anymore. And you see the shuttle just coming in. And then Boba Fett's Slave One, like the gun's just like rotating 180 degrees. I never knew they could do that. It just blows them out of the sky. Like just little stuff like that, which is just like the stuff of dreams that I just love seeing. Like you just got to imagine that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, and there's a picture going around, a little meme about them, just two generic looking kids playing with their Star Wars toys. And it's like, yeah, that was Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau playing in a toy box with everything they have available, saying, let's do everything we wanted to do as kids, and make the story work. And everybody was nervous about these characters. And we're going to get into the, like, next week, we're going to do a full season review of season 2. But they brought in Luke Skywalker, and it wasn't cheap. They brought him in there for a purpose, and it's a believable purpose. There's not many Jedi out there. He is out there looking for relics at this point. He is trying to further his knowledge of the Jedi and about the past. And of course, he would be the one to pick up on the Force signal that Grogu sent out. And like you guys have said, this is Luke arriving at the moment where people need him the most. The Jedi are protectors of the innocent. and defenders of peace and knowledge throughout the galaxy, and him showing up in the nick of time like that as the absolute savior of what we all thought he was and what he is, and there to gather up Grogu. And that, again, like you said before, it's not to take away from Din Djarin and Grogu. The fact that we're still able to have that awesome scene between Grogu and Din Djarin with him removing the helmet, just showcasing how much he doesn't care about the other people seeing him at this point. He's there for Grogu. That's the first time that Grogu has seen his face, and hopefully it won't be the last, because that'd be really tragic, because it was bad enough seeing them getting separated right there for me as it was. But man, just setting things up. Moff Gideon, Giancarlo Esposito doing an awesome performance. Everybody doing an awesome performance. Everybody brought their A game to this episode, including all the awesome female stunts that they were being performed, the one-liners, stuff with Gina Carano, everybody involved. Bo-Katan seeing that extra complexity added to the layers of her and Din Djarin, seeing the cool fight choreograph. I'm struggling with the damn word tonight. Choreography between the Darksaber, between the staff, whatever, of the, not the Kyber, of the Beskar. Seeing Dark Troopers doing what we thought they could do as these ultimate beings and being crushed by Luke Skywalker. Yeah, it doesn't get much better than this. I mean, I talk about the Star Wars high that I've gotten from the Mandalorian almost on a weekly basis. And this was like next level Star Wars high. I was like damn near hysterical watching this damn thing. And it was, I don't know if I've ever reacted this way to anything Star Wars before. Like, honestly, I think I could be pretty safe and I had some moments in Force Awakens because it was the first Star Wars movie in like freaking 10 years, and it was like, cool, Han Solo getting killed. This is terrible. What the heck is going on? And I had the emotional moment, but those, like you said, those last 10, 15 minutes of the episode, and then on top of that, they include Boba Fett as another project coming out. Like, come on, like as if the other parts of the episode weren't enough. They give us even more. And it's like, I'm not ready for this. And yeah, sure, a lot of it was like going into my head the last couple days, like, okay, is this just me thinking things too big? Am I just taking things out of context because Luke showed up and I'm blowing it out of proportion? Like the episode could have been like mediocre, but like Luke showed up, so it makes the episode amazing. No, I'm thinking about this objectively right now, as objectively as I can. And like you guys said, there's nothing wrong in this episode. Like, I can't really think of anything that I would have really changed. And if I say that, I got to give it a 10 out of 10 because there's nothing I can really critique about this episode. And I've been saving the 10 out of 10 for the whole season, thinking that there could be another way to top the episodes. And I kept saying every week almost, how are they going to top this? How are they going to top Bo-Katan coming in for live action? How are they going to top Ahsoka Tano coming in for live action? How are they going to top Boba Fett surviving the Sarlacc pit and freaking beating people up with a gaffy stick and getting his armor back? How are they going to top that? There's only one other way, and it's to bring Luke Skywalker, the freaking savior of the galaxy, into this thing and being a complete badass that we always thought he was. It's over. 10 out of 10. You can't, and I'm going to say it now, and we're going to get our hopes, exceeded next season somehow. They're going to do some crazy thing next season. You can't do better than this. And they're going to blow our minds with episode 1 of season 3. And it's going to be like, oh, great. We're going to do this whole emotional roller coaster for every episode. Every Friday, I'm going to go through the motions of, I can't do this anymore, guys. I'm going to have a heart attack. But, oh, man. Yeah, so that was our thoughts. And like I said...
Chris, you mind if I finish this off real quick, buddy?
Go ahead.
About this. Okay. This episode's called what? The Rescue?
Uh-huh.
Right? So I thought about this all the last couple of days. I think there was multiple rescues with this episode, just in particular. Clearly, Luke showing up and saving the child and saving the crew. I think Luke rescued the fandom.
Yeah.
I think. Now I'm being dead serious when I say this. I think Luke's appearance rescued the fandom because you got all the original Star Wars heads and even the new character, even the new fans who know of Luke and seen the original trilogy and all that stuff. I think his appearance. He rescued the fandom. He united us. I think Favreau and Filoni has rescued Star Wars and the fandom because they have given us projects and characters that we all enjoy. Hell, the child. We didn't know who the child was before the Mandalorian, and everyone knows the child, and everyone knows Baby Yoda, and everyone gets excited, and there's memes, and there's merchandise, and there's all this stuff that you see at Baby Yoda. How many kids and little girls and moms, even some good dads, are out there saying, "Oh," when they see it, because we all fell in love with that character. We all fell in love with the relationship between Mandalorian and the child and Grogu. I think those two particular gentlemen saved and rescued us as fans. I
Hmm.
truly believe that. I think they helped unite us, when it comes to fandom, when it comes to Star Wars, and it's amazing. So, The Rescue was a perfect title for this season finale.
Wow.
Oh,
And
I totally agree with you, Milton. I think, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, when, obviously after my freak out at 4 o'clock in the morning,
Ha.
calm down. I thought the same thing. I thought, well, no matter what side of the fence, like I always say, there really should be no side of the fence when it comes to Star Wars. But no matter what side of the fence you're on when it falls on a lot of these new projects, I think this is a really well, Mandalorian in general, starting from the first episode of season one, Grogu, being in that carriage or whatever, that was such a good way to kick off everything because no matter what your thoughts were on the sequels or Solo or Rogue One or Rebels or Clone Wars or whatever, you know, seeing a little baby Yoda kind of like started off the unification process, and then, you go and have all these big characters come in, and then you have Luke come in to not, like you both said, he didn't overshadow the show. He served his purpose. I mean, because really at the end of the day, even in this finale, they still stuck to a solid degree what they still stuck to their formula because it's implied, like we said, it's implied he's Din's gonna have to help out Bo this coming season. And what was this episode? He has to go get someone, and for to get their help, he's gonna have to help them. He may have not helped Bo in this episode directly, but he's gonna be helping her, in her future conflicts and everything.
Wait,
So
hold
I
on.
thought it was,
He helped to get that ship. She wanted the ship, the light cruiser.
oh yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, so yeah, he did help her get exact directly what she wanted. Was the light cruiser? Yeah, so that's so they still stuck to the formula. And Luke, I love it. They bring in Luke, but he still plays the same role as Ahsoka, plays the same role as Bo-Katan, plays the same role as Boba Fett, or Cobb Vanth, or the Frog Lady. Like Luke is on the same level of helping out as the Frog Lady. Like Luke, Luke made that type of a guest appearance. Like he didn't overshadow the show. He made an appearance, and it was a great proper usage of Luke. And yeah, so like you both said, shout out to like Filoni and Favreau and everybody involved, and of course, if he's watching, a big shout out to George Lucas for giving us this universe to even talk about,
Yeah.
and giving us Luke to be hyped up about, like installing this type of like foreshadowing or anticipation. The way Return of the Jedi ended, it gave us that idea, or that almost mystique that Luke was this character we saw in this episode. And we ended up finally getting it on screen, and I'm sure George Lucas is smiling somewhere watching that episode. So I thought it was a really good poetic way to end season 2 of Mando.
Oh, man. It definitely was. And guess what? We're not done talking about season 2 of Mandalorian, because you guys can join us next week, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. We are going to be talking season 2 in its entirety. We're going to talk about our favorite episodes, our favorite guest characters, our favorite moments, and much more. So make sure you go ahead and tune in live with your questions. Bring your questions. We'll answer, have a whole bunch of live questions. We'll answer those as we're going through. Definitely going to be a good time. And it's going to be kind of a long wait to The Mandalorian, but we're going to have lots of cool things. Also, a reminder, on Christmas Day, that is Friday, we are going to get the behind-the-scenes hour-long Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian Season 2. So if you guys can't get enough of Mandalorian, we're going to see, hopefully, how they did the Luke scene. We're going to see all the characters that came in for, hopefully, the actresses. I want to see all the stuff with Ahsoka and Bo-Katan and Tamara Morrison. It's going to be a great episode, and maybe they'll give some foreshadowing for the next couple things. Maybe we shall see. But for continuing the conversation in the meantime, we have all our Twitter handles underneath our video feeds right now. So you can follow Milton on Twitter at MiltonWeber7. You can follow me at StarRaptor. And of course, Ben at Real Ben Maynard. So with that being said, make sure to go ahead, of course, and subscribe to the channel, like the video, so that way you'll get notifications when we go live in the future. But we are far from talking about The Mandalorian. It is the best thing in Star Wars right now, without a doubt. There's a lot of other great things that we'll talk about in the future, because I do have my reviews for the High Republic, a couple of the books. I have another book review coming out soon. So definitely, as the gaze turns away from the Mando for a little bit, we're going to have a big influx of books coming out in the beginning of January. So make sure you follow ahead with that and check out my initial thoughts on those books. So for Ben, for Milton, we are done talking about the Mandalorian Season 2 finale. Hope you guys can join us next week. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you always. This is the way. Okay.